Guys, in the last drive, when I was blasting up that hill, everything survived. I was amazed. One of the jumps was pretty darn rough. But anyway, I noticed a little bit of a click what I perceived to be in the front end. So, this video, we're going to tear into the diffs and maybe add a little earplug to these things. So, let's get started. Take a look. Looking in the book to get some specs, 30 weight shock coil, 1 million in the diffs. That's pretty darn awesome. That's why it was working so well. But, yep, got these. First thing to do is to get the tires off. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and start digging. Now the front is where I believe I've got the clicking, so that's where we're going to start. You can get to the axle diffs by just simply taking stuff apart on the axles and getting those taken care of, both front and rear. Since I'm getting into everything, it's all coming apart. With the 2 screws out up front, time to lift it up and drop it out. Now at this point, you can see what I was talking about with the servo. It goes around into the receiver box. It doesn't just push out so you can easily take it loose. But this gives you access to everything and, you know, actually not bad taking everything loose to begin with, just for the accessibility. I do want to point out something. Unlike the Bomber and the Capra, this chassis is actually really light. I'm not sure exactly what they've done or changed with the plastic, but that is not heavy at all. Take the top loose. And now you can see the 4 bolts right there. Got to take this loose. Cover comes off and we can get to the diff. There's the diff right there. Now we're going to take this apart. In all honesty, I should have took these apart when I did the first tear down. I just for some reason did not do it, and I should have. These use a 1.5 hex wrench. There it is. All right, so not a lot of oil, but you know, when it comes to the racing world, a lot of guys, they'll debate you on how much oil to put into a diff. When it comes to us, we just kind of fill it pretty much. With a real thin oil, sometimes you can just turn it over and just let it go. Sometimes they will fall out. All right, let's see if I can get that out right there. All right, I get this into here. All right, that little piece on the back side, that is actually a seal. It's not a shim. So now we get to look at these gears and see if they're in good shape. So the gears actually look okay. Okay, maybe it was not tightened down all the way. Anyway, I feel the skid was coming from the front end. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and put the gears back in. Since the lube only has 2 runs on it, I'm not going to worry about cleaning the gears all the way off. But I will add a little bit more 1 million and maybe a little bit of earplug. So what I've done here is I've added more million weight oil to it. And I added about this much of a silicone ear plug. And I just kind of mashed it down in there. Now, with the million weight diff oil and the silicone, I'm not exactly sure what they're going to mix up to, but it should be fairly thick, but still work. Now, the bolts, they are like a 2.5 by 6 millimeter or something like that. You could actually go 2.5 by 14 millimeter. you know, and there's enough room in the holes. The holes are bored deep enough to take that. So I may order some new screws for it, some longer ones, just because I'm kind of wondering if there's enough thread engagement with that into here to actually get the job done and keep everything together. When you're doing a job like this, you got to be careful. These holes in the diff cup, they are blind holes, which means they are not all the way through. So if you fill that up with diff oil or something like that, you may have an issue with the bolts themselves. If you do get some oil, or in this case ear plug, you can actually just penetrate it with a X wrench and just kind of clear most all that out. And at that point, you can go and put the bolts in. It's all back together. The diff still turns. It is not locked up like a spool. The gears are a little bit tighter. I do believe these bolts are a little bit tighter than what they were before. Now, you guys will see me take stuff apart with the DeWalt and with the impact, but when I put stuff like this back together, yeah, I do it by hand. You don't just zip these screws back in with an impact driver. The reason I took the drive shaft off, which really isn't needed just to get that, was to actually look at the teeth on it so I can get that all clear. Pinion looks good. So there we go. Time to finish the reassembly. Added some grease. Did not pack a bunch of grease in here. The reason is, well, you guys know I've got the Vidavon stuff on the way, right? Oh yeah. And I'd rather not have a giant disaster trying to get it cleaned up to go into the new housings. So the front end is done, and I'm actually happy that the diff gears survived well. I really am. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the back done. The only thing different with the back, you know, minus the steering and all that, it's actually simpler. I do got to pull the hexes loose, pull these out to get the shafts out, but I'm going to go ahead and get that done off camera. If I find anything crazy, I'll let you know. And then I guess I'm tearing into the transmission again. Yippee! The back end is done. Again, everything looked beautiful inside. However, I did add the same amount of ear plug to it. And the ring gear bolts, again, just like the front, were not quite as tight as I'd hoped. Once the transmission is out, to get to the center diff, you just simply take the back half of the case off. And when them bolts out, it just simply slides loose just like that. And here you find the awesome Mod 1 transmission gears. Haha. These things are just awesome. And here's the center diff. Pretty sure it's the same thing, front and rear and center, just obviously a different gear on it. So I'm going to take those 4 screws out and get a peek inside. The gears look good. No issues with that. That looks good as well. Now, I'm not going to put another silicone ear plug into this. Not going to do it. I kind of like the looseness feel of the vehicle, except for the diffs. They kind of need a little bit more, but yeah, I'm going to just add some more million weight to this and put it right back together. Center diff is done. Added some more million weight to it. I do have to say, this one, all the diffs are not as smooth as they should be. They kind of feel chunky, but the gears look in perfect shape. So this particular one right here was almost completely locked up when I tightened up the 4 bolts, as in like a spool. So anyways, backed off on those, spun it over a few times. It feels chunky, but you know, kind of like the teeth aren't meshed correctly. I've been into this about 3 times now. Same thing every time. So anyways, we're going to put it back in and see what it does. It's back together. Now let's get an on-table demonstration. So I want you guys to see everything is still spinning. Definitely a little bit thicker on the front. In the center, push it up against the wall. It still works as well. And the rear is the same as the front now. Still got motion, but it still drives pretty well. So guys, showing all that stuff in there kind of made the video run a lot longer than what I wanted it to be. So I want to try to show that as quick as I could. I've done a bunch of cuts to it, but showing everything made the video run long. So as far as the driving part goes, that's going to come in another video where I'm putting a new motor and ESC in this thing. Yeah, so I get to start that video as soon as I wrap this one up. Guys, in that description are links to all this stuff that's on here. I'll even link up the ear plugs. So the vehicle, as it sits, is currently stock. The system I'm going to put in it is a Hobbywing Axe 3300 kV R2. Yeah, a little bit different. Anyway, guys, check that description, use those links, make sure you're subscribed, and thank you all for watching. Guys, if you like what you see, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. So, in the description, there's a link to become a channel member. If you want to become a channel member, it's a very simple $2, $5, $10, or if you really got some money, $25 a month. It's a simple way to support the channel. So, get that, and I am doing monthly giveaways for members only, so you might want to consider it. So, guys, use those links, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you all for watching.